Hi there, and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nick. Today we're diving into something that often gets treated like a failure, but really, it can be one of the most powerful and freeing things you'll ever do, starting from scratch. Not once, but as many times as life asks you to.
There's this pressure, isn't there? To get everything right the first time. To find the perfect job, the perfect path, the perfect version of yourself, and then stick with it forever. But real life just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes what used to fit suddenly doesn't. Or life throws you a curveball and you're left rebuilding from the ground up. And other times, you just grow in a different direction, and you have to start again, even if nothing went wrong.
And that's what we want to talk about today. The quiet courage it takes to let go of something, even something good, because you know there's something more aligned waiting for you down the line. Even if you can't see it yet.
Because starting over doesn't mean you failed. It means you're listening to your life. It means you're willing to evolve, even when it's inconvenient, scary, or misunderstood. And believe it or not, there's so much joy in that. So much power.
And what's beautiful is that every time you start from scratch, you're not actually starting from nothing. You're bringing everything you've learned with you, your resilience, your self-awareness, the mistakes that taught you, and the moments that shaped you.
Exactly. People often say, back to square one, like it's a bad thing. But the truth is, square one the second, third, or 10th time around is very different. You're not the same person you were the first time. You're wiser. More grounded. Less afraid of getting it wrong.
And maybe even more curious. Because once you've survived a few restarts, you stop seeing them as signs of failure, and start seeing them as part of the rhythm of life. Like seasons. Like tides. Like breathing.
Yeah, and it's also freeing, isn't it? To realize you're allowed to change your mind. To outgrow something. To say, this doesn't fit anymore, and move on without needing to justify it to everyone else. You're allowed to reinvent yourself.
And not just once. Again and again. As many times as it takes to feel like you're living in your truth, not someone else's expectations. That's the joy of starting from scratch. Not chasing perfection, but making space for honesty.
And sometimes that honesty comes softly. Not as a big decision, but as a quiet knowing. A gentle tug that something about your life feels too small for who you're becoming. And instead of ignoring it, you listen. You let it guide you back to yourself.
We romanticize consistency so much that we forget. Staying in the wrong thing just to prove you're consistent isn't growth. It's fear. And there's nothing noble about holding on to what no longer serves you just because you once wanted it.
There's courage in staying, sure. But there's also courage in walking away. In closing a chapter that no longer feels alive. In starting again not because you failed, but because you know you deserve more than just surviving your own choices.
And it doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes starting from scratch just looks like getting honest with yourself. Saying, I've changed. And letting that be enough of a reason to begin again.
And when you do begin again, when you take that first unsure step, you'll notice something. Relief. A little peace. A deeper breath. That's the quiet reward of choosing yourself over the illusion of having it all figured out.
And that peace, it grows. Slowly. Day by day. You start to realize that building something new isn't about rushing to make it impressive. It's about making it real. Making it yours. Even if no one else understands why you chose to begin again.
Because the beauty of starting from scratch is that you're no longer trying to prove anything. You're not chasing what looked good on paper or what made sense years ago. You're rebuilding from a place of self-trust. Of clarity. Of quiet conviction.
And sure, it might feel awkward at first. Starting over always does. You might question everything, feel uncertain, even grieve what you left behind. But underneath that discomfort is possibility. A blank canvas. A wide open door.
And the more you do it, the less afraid you become of losing things. Because you've seen how capable you are of beginning again. You've learned that endings are rarely the end, and often, they are just the start of something far more honest.
And that's where the joy lives. Not in the finished product, but in the quiet knowing that you chose to start again. That you chose to honor who you're becoming, even when it was hard. That you didn't settle for staying small just to feel safe.
And in a world that often tells you to have a 5-year plan, to climb a straight ladder, to build something linear, there's real rebellion in choosing to rewrite your story whenever it stops feeling true. It's not chaos. It's growth. It's agency.
Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is whisper to yourself, "This isn't it anymore," and walk towards something uncertain. Not because you know exactly what's next, but because you trust yourself enough to find out.
And that trust isn't built by always getting it right. It's built by continuing, even after it falls apart. By learning to carry yourself gently through restarts, through pivots, through uncomfortable new beginnings. Again and again.
You start to see life differently. Not as a path you're supposed to stick to, but a landscape you're free to explore. You stop asking, "Did I fail?" and start asking, "Am I still growing?" And that shift changes everything.
Because when growth becomes your goal, not perfection, not approval, not control, you give yourself permission to begin again as often as needed. And that's where the real joy lives. Not in never falling, but in always rising, stronger, softer, clearer.
And even if no one else sees the shift, even if no one claps for your quiet bravery, you'll know. You'll feel it in the way your shoulders relax. In the way your breath settles. In the way your days start to feel more like your own.
It's a kind of freedom that doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It simply shows up in the way you no longer force yourself into old shapes. In how you no longer cling to titles, routines, or roles that used to define you, but don't anymore.
And honestly, that freedom, that joy of starting from scratch, isn't about escaping the past. It's about integrating it. Saying, "This taught me something, and now I'm ready to move forward with what I've learned."
There's such beauty in knowing you can begin again at any time. That no version of you is a dead end. That you're not stuck, you're just pausing, realigning, listening. And soon enough, you'll find your footing again.
Because even when it feels like you're standing in rubble, starting over means you get to choose every piece you pick up. What you carry forward. What you leave behind. What you build next. It's all yours now.
And maybe that's what makes it so powerful. You're no longer just living by default, you're choosing. Deliberately. Gently. With more awareness than you've ever had before. That's not weakness. That's wisdom.
You realize you don't need to rush to rebuild. There's no deadline for becoming. You can move slowly. Rest often. Get it wrong. Try again. And still be right on time. Because it's your timeline, not anyone else's.
And if today feels messy, if you're standing at the start of something new and wondering if you've made a mistake, just breathe. You haven't failed. You're just beginning. And beginnings are meant to feel a little shaky.
They are. They are uncertain, but they are also full of promise. And sometimes the best things in life don't start with clarity. They start with a quiet decision to try. To move forward even when you don't have the whole map.
So if you're there right now, starting again, unsure where it's all going, just know this, there is joy in this moment, too. Not loud, not flashy, but steady. And it's yours. You don't have to earn it. You just have to allow it.
And if all you've done lately is choose yourself, choose to begin again, to listen more closely, to honor your quiet truth, that's already enough. That's already everything.
There's a quiet kind of bravery in starting over, especially when no one else sees the steps you're taking. But we see you. And more importantly, you see you, and that's where the healing begins.
Thank you for spending this time with us. If today reminded you that starting from scratch isn't something to be ashamed of, but something to be proud of, then we hope you carry that with you into whatever comes next.
This has been the British Accent Podcast. We'll be back soon with more calm conversations and thoughtful reminders.
Take care of yourself. You're allowed to grow at your own pace. And if you need to start again, start again.
We'll speak to you next time.